we'll call it the methyl end, or the methyl end. Yeah, one end is the, and I'll leave it at that end, and the other end is the carboxyl end. So one end of the chain of these carbons and other things, which I'm not going to draw in because I just want to make one specific point, is the methyl end, the other end is the carboxyl end. If you are a scientist, you count from the carboxyl end. If you are a person talking about food, a nutritionist, for example, you count from the methyl end. The body cannot make fatty acids before the ninth, the ninth carbon group from the methyl end, counting from the methyl end. So it can't make 3 and it can't make 6. It can make 9. It can make 9. So omega-9 is not essential. Your body can make it. It can't make omega-3. It can't make. Now this end is called the omega end. That's why it's omega-3, omega-6, omega-9, etc., etc. We count, nutritionists count from the methyl or omega end of the carbon chain. You will be tested on this. Monday, Christian.
Sure. I'll add it in there as a bonus.
Trans fatty acids. What are trans fatty acids?
Oxidized fats?
Oxidized. Not exactly oxidized, but you're leading towards it. What do they do to the fat? There's another word for it. What? Yes, you're right, but what do they manipulate it with?
This is on the test.
Hydrogen?
Yes. So it's not oxidized, it's hydrogenated. So, sorry?
Or maybe both.
So you take a liquid oil or fat. By the fat's liquidity is about the shortness of the carbon chain. Short carbon chains are more stable at room temperature. So butter, cheese, that kind of thing, it's got a shorter carbon chain. The longer the carbon chain, the more likely it is to be liquid at room temperature. What they do is they shift the hydrogen atoms. So these all connect to hydrogens, and they shift them around. I mean, in simple terms, you could say that they kind of move them over to the same side. But it depends whether it's a carbon double bond. If it's a carbon double bond, it's got no room for a hydrogen connection anymore. But they saturate the oil with hydrogen and shift the molecular structure. The molecular structure of fat is normally what's known as a cis structure, and it's kind of bent like that. When they've hydrogenated it, it goes straight. It's a trans structure. Your body cannot process trans fatty acids. It has no capability to process trans fatty acids. What does that mean if you eat it? You just poop it out. Do you just poop it out?
It's stored.
That'd be fiber.
You're right. You end up storing it, and you store it where, in fact, because it's a toxin, it's toxic to your body, and it actually prevents you taking up other nutrients. If you eat this stuff all the time, I mean, yeah, you could have it occasionally, and your body might be able to deal with it. But if you keep putting it into your body, hydrogenated oils, margarine, etc., if you put this stuff in you, not all margarines are hydrogenated, but those that are, if you put this stuff in you, it's building a toxic layer. Sorry?
What? Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That would cause cholesterol?
No,
That's
no.
cholesterol.
No, that's not what it's doing, but it's certainly building in your adipose cells. Adipose cells are fat cells, and there's two things to be aware of. They have a fat droplet, so you've got your adipose cell like that, and it's full of fat. The nucleus, it's a bit like a fried egg. It sits on top, and it's full of fat, and it can grow and grow and grow. It can fill with fat. Problem is, it can only fill so far before you then have to have more fat cells. The fat cells multiply, because if you get to a certain point of overweight or obesity, you've got to get to be obese. And then your fat cells start to multiply, so you can store more fat. When you lose weight, the fat cells shrink, but the research suggests you don't lose the number of fat cells. And fat cells have a tendency to want to fill themselves, so you gain more fat cells if you put on more fat cells. Okay. But we don't need fat from animals. Again, back to Jekyll and Campbell. Do we have the science to state we should eat a 100% plant-based diet? No. We do not have the science to say we should be eating only plants. No, we don't. Do we have the science to say we should eat a 90+% plant-based diet? Yes, absolutely. Diets that remain below 10% of animal products by calorie, so if you've got a 2,000 calorie diet and you remain below 200 calories of animal product, show virtually zero risk of what's become known as the Western diseases. Colon cancer, rectal cancer, heart disease, diabetes, cardiovascular problems, etc. There's a trigger around 10%. If you go even up to 12%. Now, why is this? And it's linked to genetics. We all have a predisposition towards certain diseases. You're born with it genetically. What the research that T. Colin Campbell and others did showed was that just because you have it doesn't mean to say you will get it. Just because you're predisposed to getting cardiovascular disease doesn't mean to say you will. The switch gets clicked on after you go above 10% animal products. They showed that conclusively. If you stay below 10%, and that's why they did this over 40 years in China, the diet remained the same. I saw it happen in one generation in China. You started to get problems like obesity and diabetes just in one generation as Western foods, and not just the fast foods. Yeah, Starbucks, Juhckobo, McDonald's, KFC. I mean, when I first started to go to China, it was hard to find a Starbucks in the whole of China. similarly, KFC, McDonald's, they're there. But I'm not just talking about that. Chinese love pork. Pork. They really like pork meat. Churro. So they like pork.